Okay, we're recording this video on Sunday the 23rd of March 2025. This video is to introduce an add-on that we have to the Better Indicators. Over the last month or so you might have noticed that there are some changes to the normal charts that we show on the weekend futures market update. And this little add-on we're calling at the moment Better Squeeze. There are two components to it, one to highlight professional activity and the other to highlight when the market is in a tight congestion phase. You can download the installer for this add-on by going to your account page on the Emini-Watch website. Go to the download section and you'll see that there's an installer for TradeStation. We've just launched the code for TradeStation at the moment, but it'll come to NinjaTrader as soon as we've made the final improvements to the code. It's a beta version of the installer at the moment. You click on the installer and download the installation file. You need to shut down TradeStation and run the installer, and it will automatically add the new indicators to your TradeStation setup. Now, if you're a user of TradeStation on a Mac using Parallels, you have to make sure that you put the installer on your Windows side of your machine and run it from within Windows. We occasionally have problems with the installer putting the Easy Language files on the Mac side, even though you're running the installer on the Windows side. If you do find that, you'll find those files within the document side of your Mac under Emini-Watch and TradeStation, and this is the folder that you'll need to import into TradeStation. It has all of the indicators in there. I'm just going to show you the import sequence for the Better Indicators. Here we're going through the import wizard. If you already have Better Momentum, Better Pro-Am and Better Sine Wave installed, I would hit clear all and just tick the Better Squeeze and Better Squeeze 2 indicators and then hit finish, click OK to install the functions and complete the process of installing those new indicators in TradeStation. I'm going to cancel out of there and got a 1500 tip bar chart of the E-mini here. The market's opened a couple of hours ago. I'm recording this on Sunday evening, so we've had a gap up in the E-mini. So I'm briefly going to show you what these new indicators look like on the charts. What I've got is Better Pro-Am and Better Squeeze. So we'll close that up. And Better Squeeze has three components. The first one is squeezes here, where we have cyan boxes drawn where the market is squeezing into tight congestion. And then the second side is when we have professional activity at extremes, and that's where we draw these blue boxes. And then when we have confirmed breaks, we show vertical dotted lines when we have breaks, red for an uptrend and white for a downtrend. I'm going to talk about this first with the professional activity, and then we'll deal with the squeeze boxes. So what we're looking for to identify successful changes in trend is professional activity at new highs and new lows. So for a change in trend from a downtrend into an uptrend, we have to see blue professional bars active when we're making new lows. And we define a new low on the trailing stop plotted by Better Pro-Am. So the market breaks through Better Pro-Am here, continues down, and when we see blue professional bars at a low, we mark that activity with a blue box. The market continues down, we see more blue professional bars at those new lows, and then the blue box comes in when the blue professional bars have finished printing. And then we wait for a successful change in trend in Better Pro-Am, where we have an initial break and then we retest and have confirmation and a sign of strength, and we signal a change in trend, in this case in an uptrend. Here are a couple of examples of changes into downtrends. So the market's broken into an uptrend. So these blue professional bars come in at new highs and the blue box comes in to signal that professional activity. We have more blue professional bars, and again the blue box is drawn after the end of that professional activity. We wait for the change in trend when we break through the trailing stop on Better Pro-Am, and as soon as we have a confirmation with a sign of weakness here, we'll plot a vertical white line showing a change of trend into a downtrend. This particular change here into an uptrend didn't signal because these blue professional bars didn't actually happen at those extreme new lows. These new lows were made with no blue professional down bars here, and so we didn't get a signal there. But this one, blue professional bars were made at new highs. We wait for the change of trend and then we get our sign of weakness, and the vertical white line comes in for a confirmed change of trend. So how do you use this for your everyday trading? What I would look for is the higher time frame chart. So if I was looking at day trading the E-mini, I'd be looking at a 500 and a 1500 tip bar chart. My higher time frame chart would be a 1500 tip bar chart. And as soon as I had seen that activity and a change of trend, I would be waiting for two conditions. One, if I get a simultaneous break on the 500 tip bar chart showing exactly the same thing, so I get vertical red dotted lines on both the 500 and the 1500 very close together, that would be good confirmation that we could take a long trade at that point. Or I'd wait for retraces on the 500 tip bar chart. For example, here there might have been a signal on the 500 chart to go in, or at this point here where we had some weakness and we have a signal on the 500 tip bar chart to go long at that point. So you're looking for confirmation from a higher time frame chart and a lower time frame chart for really successful signals. When they're both in sync, that's a good signal to go long or short at those points. So that's the first side of the Better Squeeze indicator. It's based on the professional activity and Better Pro-Am and signals the blue boxes followed by successful changes in trend. The second side of the indicator is based on Better Sine Wave, and for that I'm going to show you a second chart here. So again, 1500 tip bar chart of the E-mini continuous contract, and we've got Better Sine Wave on this chart, and we have the two additional indicators for Better Squeeze. I'll just show you those quickly. We have Better Sine Wave, Better Squeeze, and Better Squeeze 2. Better Squeeze 2 is just the detail of how the calculations are happening with these squeezes here. And what we're trying to identify is areas where we have two conditions. One is that the price is very close to a support or a resistance level, and that the support and resistance levels are also very close together. This is quite similar to the traditional squeeze indicator. The traditional squeeze indicator is measuring the difference between closing prices, and then it's also measuring the ranges of the bars themselves. In this case, we're looking for the difference in closing price relative to each of the support and resistance levels, and then we're also looking for the support and resistance levels to be very close together. So these two lines down here, the red and the cyan line, are measuring those two things. The cyan line is measuring the distance between the closing price and each of the support and resistance levels, and the red line is measuring the absolute differences between just the support and the resistance lines. So we get squeezes when, for example here, towards the end of Friday, where the support and resistance lines are very close together, and the closing price is very close to those support and resistance levels. So that's when we get a squeeze condition here, and then the market breaks into a trend. So then we look back over a large number of bars and we calculate normal ranges that we move between at the extremes. When we have price compression and we fall below these white lines, that tells us that we're likely to move out of that area into expansion. And then when we go above these white lines on the highs here, that show us typically what an expansive move looks like. So we would move from compression here, and then as we move into a downtrend, the limit to the expansion that we get at the top of the chart here. So personally, I wouldn't use this second indicator on the charts. There's too much information there, but it's useful for seeing the detail of how the squeeze calculations are being made. I'm going to just temporarily disable that, and you can see that we have the market topping out here. The support and resistance lines are starting to come very close together, and then we break into a trending move from here. We get an area again, the support resistance lines are close together and the price is close together. We get an area that's squeezing at this point. We can't decide which way to break. We finally break to the upside. Same thing, we go through an area of congestion here with 1, 2, 3, 4 signals that the market is very compressed at that point, and then finally we break into a trending move. So that's the detail on the Better Sine Wave chart of how those signals are generated. What they look like when we put them together with the professional bars is this. And the squeeze indicator can be used in one of two ways. The first one is once we get a change in trend and the market moves back to the Better Pro-Am line and we see a congestion signal there, we're looking for a break out of that cyan box into a little bit of a trending move. So this move was quite a small move. The next time that we came close to the Better Pro-Am line was this move here, where the Pro-Am line moved up, we had congestion, and it generated a nice signal that there was going to be a trending move break out of that. The other way to use them is when we start to move further away from the Better Pro-Am line, as we get here and here. That shows that the market's a little bit oversold and we're likely to come back at that point. We go back and see some more activity. Here we've got a fresh break into a downtrend. The market's moved quite a long way from the trailing stop on Better Pro-Am, and we get a squeeze signal here, and the market retraces back to that neutral line with Better Pro-Am. At this point here, we've got again a break away from the Better Pro-Am line. This one we come closer to the Pro-Am line, and then we get a reassertion of that trending move down. So this is an area just to be wary, maybe not to go short at that point and to wait for a retracement. And this is an area where we've had the retracement and we've got a nice setup for a trade where we'd have a stop loss at the Better Pro-Am line, and then the market continues to break down into that trending move. So that's the second part of the squeeze indicator. I'm just going to briefly show you the inputs on the indicators. We can go to that. You can see there are a number of customizations you can make. So the squeeze box color by default is cyan, and the pro box color by default is blue. If you want to change those colors, just remember to keep the quote marks and just replace the color names with the default color names used in TradeStation. Support color and resistance color uses the same naming convention as Better Sine Wave, so confirmed changes of trend with vertical lines in red are showing us uptrends and white are showing us downtrends. We also have the setting for exclude time set to true. So this setting matches the settings for Better Pro-Am. There's an exact same input called exclude time. So if your Better Pro-Am indicator is showing false, use false on this indicator. If it's showing true, use true. I happen to use true on day trading charts of the E-mini, but that's the only instance when I set exclude time to true. Mostly it's set to false. And lastly, there is a squeeze alert whenever you get a squeeze signal, a change in trend, or a professional bar. We might in future versions of the codes separate this out into 3 different alerts. Make sure that if you're using an alert to also tick the enable alert condition here within the alert settings of the indicators. So this is the first version of this indicator that we've released, so we're calling it a beta version. If you've got any suggestions for improvements, please let us know. And as soon as we release the NinjaTrader version of the indicator, we'll let all the subscribers know. So I hope you found that video useful, and good luck with your trading.